Welcome to Ready, Set, Hunt. Whether you're an aspiring, new, or seasoned hunter, join us as we share our experiences and learn from other hunters around the country. So you found a hornet's nest in our duck boat?
This morning when I was leaving, I went to, was it yesterday? No.
Would have been today, maybe. I saw you yesterday.
No, it was yesterday. Yesterday. Right before we left to come up to the birthday party. No, I went over to drop some garbage in the dumpster. Unlatched it's fenced. So I unlatched the double fence gate, and all of a sudden felt like just the worst pinching bite pain in the back of the head.
Ugh.
And it was a hornet, and they were actually in like the 2-inch metal piping of the fence.
Oh, the fence.
Yeah, like the actual latch of it. So
Yeah.
it goes in, there's like a hole, it's like a keyhole, and they were all in there. There was like 30 of them in there flying back and forth.
Did you get some like wasp killer spray and sprayed in there?
Well, I've had some because the last 2 years have been making nests in our front porch light fixtures.
Mm-hmm.
So I put some cardboard up there because the lights are, the wiring's at times a little shoddy. So you get flickers at nights. Like sometimes it really freaks out. So I've just kept them off.
Mm-hmm.
But I've plugged those, and then I saw them going in there. Like they found a little 1/2-inch hole in the plug I set up there. So then I sprayed it down, killed them off. Then they moved over to like the garage, and we're trying to get into the siding. Then they were in the back underneath the deck. Then, yesterday they found their way, or then they were in the propane tank for the church across the way, they were in the ground there.
Oh, yeah.
And people got stung when they were mowing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a daycare there. And then they were in the back of the church garage. And then they were at the dumpster, and I got stung there and killed them off with some spray. And then we had a really, really bad storm, which took down tons of trees and decimated the southern Minnesota area yesterday night. And I saw our duck boat have one of its floodlights exposed from there was so much wind it actually pulled the bungee straps up. Oh, like it didn't hold it down. It was so windy.
Yeah.
So one of the lights, and I was like, oh, I should go over there and see if there's any water in the duck boat, because from time to time, the tarp or the cover might hold some water if it doesn't drain properly on top.
Yeah.
And I got it propped up on like a big stump, so it's like at a super big angle, so it drains. And sure enough, no water or anything like that. And then I pull it back over to resecure it, and I grab the front of it, and all of a sudden, like 10 wasps just attack, come flying out the front. And I stopped, dropped, and rolled and got out of there. And I was like, what the heck? So I thought they were actually nested inside the boat underneath the cover, but they were had somehow attached their nest inside the cover still on the exterior of the boat, up just on the front part of it.
Oh, okay. So
I went and got some spray. I sprayed it this afternoon. I was like, take that, you little flippers. And bunch fell out. And I went in there again tonight when I was picking up. And there's like 10 more in there. And there's still... So I took my fist and I just smashed the nest from the outside of the cover.
Mm-hmm.
And they all start coming out, and I sprayed in there. And so now, hopefully, we've killed the majority of the nest and maybe the queen, but we will see if they decide to divert to another location around the premise.
You just have nomadic hornets around your house, apparently. Man.
They're committed to this like half-acre area.
Oh, well, thanks for taking care of that. Chris has been storing our duck boat in his yard, kind of through the winter, spring, and now first half of the summer here. We'll be probably breaking it out pretty soon because we got to build a blind or rebuild our blind on it for the upcoming season. But um, yeah, thanks for doing that, Chris. Thanks for housing the hornets too. That's really kind. I don't have to house them here at my house, but
Yeah,
uh,
I would try to transplant plant bees or move them around or take care of bees, but not hornets.
mhm.
Hornets, I've had a long history of hornets, especially at my other properties. They get under the um shutters, right?
Yeah,
They get
yeah.
behind the shutters a lot.
Yeah, I have some hornets one of my other properties too, and yeah, they just there's this gap in the siding that they just go under, and they just love it in there, and it's a problem pretty much every
Like
time. I actually haven't seen any this year yet, but
I don't know. It had to be a stung because I've gotten bit before, but the back of my head has like a golf ball on it
mm,
from
yeah,
where I got stung. But
yeah.
yeah,
Well, um, so this past weekend, I got together with some friends from my church, and got talking to a guy that I've met like a few times, and knew that I learned that he's into hunting a little bit, and so he was there, so we just got talking hunting because that's what hunters do when they discover each other. All they do is talk hunting. Um, and I was talking to him, and he was asking me a little bit about what kind of hunting I do, and I was saying how you and I we started going out west a handful of years back, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've always wanted to go out hunting in the West." He goes, and me and my son, because he has I think his son's like 15, 16 or something like that. It was me and my son. We really are wanting to start planning our first hunt out west, but it's just like so intimidating. So like, how did you do it? And so that kind of made me think. I'm like, man,
right here.
just do it.
Just
That's
do
very
it.
true. Just do it.
You
That's
have
very
to just
true.
do it.
Yeah, at some point you have to just bite the bullet and do it. But it did get me thinking. I'm like, we've talked a lot about, or we've mentioned a lot about Western hunting, talked a little bit about Western hunting on this podcast, but haven't really necessarily talked specifically about how to go about going on your first Western hunt, especially if you're, say, from the Midwest or East Coast, something like that. I, when we first started hunting, Western hunting was not super on my radar. I think you've
Not at
talked about
all.
it, Chris, where it wasn't really on your radar at all. Um, but yeah, it wasn't really on my radar. But I think just the longer I hunted and whatever, I was looking for new experiences, it just got super interesting to me. But like this guy that I talked to said, like it was super intimidating our first time going out. I feel. Um, I don't know.
I
What do you think? Thinking back on our first Western hunt, we went to
well,
Nebraska
I
to
think
hunt mule deer
didn't
with our
you
bows in
said you wanted to
2022,
do you said you wanted to do a hunt
2021.
outside of Minnesota, or I don't
Something.
remember what instigated it. Like, because it wasn't something we had talked about like at all. It just I think came up one day and we're like, yeah, we're gonna go. We can buy an over the counter tag, or it was something simple. What's like an entry hunt to like expand our experience?
Yeah.
And we chose archery, which I think was ambitious, but looking back on it, like I don't know if it is, especially from the experience now of having gone through rifle seasons with different species of animals. I think deer is a little bit different than elk. I think elk hunting, there's advantages for sure in the rut with calling, and it doesn't mean you're going to be more successful or less successful because I think there's some basic skills you have to embrace and deploy efficiently and knowledgeably in
Hmm.
order to put yourself in a position to be successful. Because we know guys or a guy that goes at it like 6 or 7 in the evening. He's like, I'm going to go here, glasses him up by 8:30. Somehow this guy is locked on, or he gets skunked on evenings as all hunters do. I'm not saying he's
Yeah.
successful 100% of the time, but he tends to really understand how he is very effective. But back to the first hunt thing, like Nebraska, it was all very exciting. But I think what's intimidating is not being on home turf, because when you
Yeah.
grow up on home turf or land that your family has, or
Even a
even
piece of public
even
nearby where you
public, that's
live,
yep, and that's where your dad or uncle or buddy first took you out, so it's like kind of been your staple for your whole hunting experience. Like my hunting experience until Nebraska was it a besides duck out at your uncle's, and I don't think we had hunted deer out at your uncle's
together
down in
yet.
down in southern Minnesota at that point. It was within like a 5 mile diameter,
Yeah,
and the
I
hunt
mean,
and the hunting the wildlife that 5 miles held
mhm.
was sufficient from a turkey, deer, duck, like anything else you wanted to hunt in the Midwest. Besides, there's even been some bear spottings up there, but
Sure.
no elk, obviously. But
Right.
so I think just going off your home turf, I think, is the first thing I'd say. What about you? Is you have something to add? Uh,
I think
yeah,
home
Matt.
turf plays a big role. I think a big part of it is logistics too. I mean, especially if you're traveling out west to Montana or Wyoming, Colorado, something like that. It's like a anywhere from like a 10 to 18-hour drive depending on where you're going in any of those states. And you don't have those comforts of home of being like, oh well, I'm 2 hours from my house. If something were really bad to happen, like something were to happen to my rifle or to my bow, at least I'm in semi driving distance if I needed to, swap something out or fix something or whatever.
Mhm.
It also like a game prep standpoint too. Like if you do get something down, you're just 2 hours from home. You have a freezer that's ready to go. It's like all those logistical things are so much easier when you're hunting around home. But when you're 10 to 18, for some guys, if they're coming from the East Coast, 24 hours of driving away from home, it's like that's an added layer of difficulty and an added layer of planning that needs to take place. And there's also, like, I think the financial aspect of it too. Obviously, it's going to cost a lot more to do one of those traveling hunts, not just from a gas and food standpoint, but also your tags, your gear, all that kind of stuff. And so,
Mhm.
I totally understand why it's super intimidating to go out west and experience one of these hunts, because there's so many unknowns until you've actually done it. And even when you've done it, that's just one experience, and maybe you go somewhere else, different species, and you're in a way starting over again. You might have some more insight into things by being out west, but when we use the word west, that's a super super broad term, because Wyoming is not the same as Montana. Montana is not the same as Arizona.
Mhm.
Like they're very different places. But it's the style of hunting that is similar, I think. And so when we say hunting out west or western hunting, I mean I would say we're talking mostly about, like, spot and stock style hunting, big open spaces in general, and a select set of game animals. Um, so I think in this episode, just to kind of give you a little overview, I think what we're going to talk about is your planning, your logistics, maybe some of the gear items you're going to have. Maybe the gear you have will work, but what are some gear items that maybe you don't already have that you need to take into consideration? Maybe some physical training, um, all those kind of things. And I think it's important to emphasize that this episode is, we're not emphasizing pro tips. These are things for beginners, for people that want to go on their first western hunt. Right now, you know, you could start planning right now for a hunt this fall. It's a little late in the game for that, but it can be done. It's
Mhm.
not too late. There are still opportunities out there that you could
It's
tap
also
into.
don't for those of you who are listening, don't imagine it as being like it's not difficult, and it's not. hard, intimidating very well maybe, but like from this like you could plan, to be honest, if you're kind of crazy like me once in a while, you could plan the day before.
You
And
could.
you can make a phone call to like a local game warden, Fish and Wildlife, over the counter tag. This is a good spot, and you can grab your rifle or your bow, and you can go sit for the weekend. Like that's totally feasible. You can sleep in your truck. You can stay at a Hampton Inn, and do it that
Hmm.
way, and then go out in the morning. Like guys do that all over the country.
Yeah.
It works. It's fun. Um,
It's
but if
only as
you're
complicated as you make it. But
Yeah, but if you really dial in, you're like, okay, well, if this is going to be a mainstay and I'm going to do this consistently, that's what I think maybe you're tapping into. From, hey, I want to plan this with some efficiency. I want to plan this with some thought. How am I going to do this? What is it going to cost?
mhm,
What is my gear setup need to be different? The things that you touched on. Do I need to be in better shape? Like those types of things that you've touched on do then come into play, because you can make a Western area your home turf eventually
mhm.
if you've been back there multiple times, and if you've been back there multiple times and been successful.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, you're very right. It doesn't have to be this really hard, um, crazy logistical nightmare of a thing. It's as complicated or as simple as you make it. I think what the big difference is that the more planning that you put into it, time you put into it, in general, probably your odds of success are going to be a little better. But then again, how many times have we talked about on this podcast, Chris? You can plan all you want, but until you actually get out there, you're going to find out pretty quick whether the plan you made is going to be viable or not.
yeah,
Um,
when I'm talking about planning, like you can look at maps and you can go that avenue, and you can be logistical about what you need in your pack, or if you need a pack, or you're tenting it, or you're trucking it, or your
mhm.
hotel. You can do that type of things, but more so you got to just go. You just got to do it.
Yep.
Just And I think the motivation for people who start thinking this way, first, I think it probably comes in. You see the YouTube videos of the elk on
Mhm.
the side of the mountain bugling, and it's some epic chase with a very seasoned guy or a guide who's guiding like a first time, dreamer, and they shoot some ridiculous 6x6, and that's probably not going to be your experience.
No,
Just
but you're like, man, I want a piece of that. Like
that's
that's.
that's what sparks it. But it's you know I love the West from the mountain standpoint,
Mhm.
the wide open. But it's a sense of adventure that I think is instilled in all of us. Like if the world really could unplug completely from their devices, people dream about adventure, and people dream about that adventure with people and memories, and
Mhm.
they want to experience new things. And I think that's something that's really been lost within our culture.
Yeah.
Uh, people talk about experiencing new things, and they're like partying or going to some new club, and it's like, really? Like you're gonna do the same? You're gonna go? Yeah, I'm gonna get in trouble if I start
It's
start
not
talking. But
it's not the experiences that we're talking about or looking at. Like,
it's just like, what are you at the end of your life? Are you gonna be like, man, I wish I would have went to one more club. Oh, I loved dancing that one night,
right?
or
Or would you have been like,
getting
I wish I would have
hammered.
climbed one more mountain, you
Yeah,
know?
like yes,
Yeah,
yes,
totally.
and seeing
Hmm.
things you've never seen before. You go to a club, you see like, is it really honest? Honestly, you're gonna be amazed.
Yep.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe you will.
Um,
I don't know.
and I'm not bashing anybody. I'm speaking to the deep-seated sense of adventure that I
Mhm.
think there's too much familiarity in people's, like, branch out and do new things within our like city culture and life. It's like, oh, go see a museum, and those things are fun, and I enjoy museums and concerts and sporting events as much as anybody. But those aren't like personally challenging. They don't Do they really, I would ask the question, do they really challenge you as a person or drive character development, or
Yeah. Are they
you know what I mean?
refining experiences or are they just pure entertainment?
Yeah,
You know,
because I
it's
like I
it's
don't go
almost
to
like it's like a shallow experience, I guess,
well,
in a way.
I don't go to a museum and I'm like pondering this painting. And others may, and and I
Mhm.
know that's totally a thing. Like, you may be an art aficionado, and I think that actually is really fantastic and fascinating all in itself. But getting outside of the walls, it's like,
Mhm.
can you go further? Like, what's over the next ridge? um it's that
Yes.
that space that we're
Some
supposed to be.
people like to look at tapestries on the wall. I like to look at the tapestry of God's creation, like out in creation.
I mean, if
It's
I this picture, I don't know if you can really see it up there. I'm like, it's a picture you shot,
yep, photo cred right here.
and I was looking at it earlier today. It's the screensavers on my ultra wide work monitor.
Oh, is it?
Or sorry, the background, the wallpaper. And I was, for the first time, I had my photography mind come back, and I was, why am I so low on that ridge? I should have went up like 7 feet, and Peter then should have shot it. So I wasn't like, I would have seen more of the mountains and everything, but
Yeah.
it's out in Wyoming and at a sunset, and we're just glassing for the last couple of seconds of light there. And
Yeah. See if you can't spot a. What was it that trip? That would have been an antelope.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a
Um.
place. This is a reminder that a place I've never been, and
Mm-hmm.
something I got to experience. And yeah, so let's how about we dive into, just like, for those who've never gone anywhere, give me some thoughts, if that's where we're starting out, back to day one, and like our choices. Would we have chosen anything differently? And just walk
Mm-hmm.
people through what we did,
Yeah.
in not giving advice or anything like that, I don't think, but just what was our experience on that, those first couple of weeks leading up to that, and then the hunt.
Yeah, I might give a little bit of advice. And for if there's any like experienced Western hunters listening to this, don't hate me for this, but I'm going to give some advice. No, I'm not going to give away secret spots or anything like that, but a lot of people think the West is getting too crowded. But I mean, let's be honest, it's going to happen regardless. So I'm just trying to help some people out have a better experience. And, a lot of these units they're going to be looking at are pretty low entry level units anyway. These probably aren't a lot of the same units you experienced hunters are hunting. Anyway, I mean, if the first thing we had to do is we had to decide what we wanted to hunt, where we wanted to hunt it, right? Um, because there's the big three, I guess, or what I would consider the big three animals in the West. You've got your elk, you've got your mule deer, you've got your pronghorn. You also got your black bear. That's a good spring hunt option if you're wanting to, maybe you're like, oh, maybe next fall. That seems a little far away. This fall seems a little too close. What if I were to do a spring hunting option and go out west? Spring black bear is an option for you. Um, but like going species by species here, your elk. I mean, I feel like the elk is just like the pinnacle of Western hunting. When you think Western hunting, you picture a bugling bull on a mountainside. It's the most popular. There's a lot of them. They're big. They're beautiful. It's a challenging hunt. They're just an iconic animal, right? Um, Probably not the best first Western hunt in general.
I would agree
You
to that.
you could do it. You could totally do it. You could go out and try it, but success rates in general are quite low on elk hunts. Um, I can't remember what the numbers are, but it's usually like ten
It varies
percent.
by unit as well.
It does, but I would say in general, success rate is probably about 10%. 10% of hunters fill their tag. That's pretty low. But it doesn't mean it can't happen. But you just have to work really hard for it. Then for mule deer are super fun. Numbers aren't doing super great all across the West, but what's nice about mule deer is they're pretty much everywhere across the West. They're fairly accessible animals. They're really cool. To me, I think mule deer are maybe the coolest animal in the West. Although I really love pronghorn too. I can't. It's really hard to compare. But mule deer is a really great option. There's some great options for you to hunt mule deer in certain states without having to put in a ton of time or money. Then you got your pronghorn. Um, Pronghorn are kind of known as the quintessential best first animal or Western animal to hunt. Um, for a lot of reasons. I'd probably agree with most of those reasons. A, You can hunt them all day. They're on their feet. They're moving around all day long. It's not like a early in the morning, late in the evening type of hunt. You can hunt them literally all day. They're very easy to spot and see. They don't really hide. They're in wide open spaces, and you know they if you do shoot them, they go down pretty darn easy. Um, the biggest challenge with pronghorn is their eyesight's really good. So if you're hunting pronghorn with a bow, you got to get in real close, which is tough with their eyesight. But then if you're hunting with a rifle, you got to be ready to take a pretty long shot as well. Um, but in general, there are pronghorn. It's gotten a little harder as of late, the past couple years, but pronghorn can be a fairly easy tag to draw, specifically in the state of Wyoming. So it's a decent opportunity, and again, it's one of the easier Western hunts just because of the topography in the area they live in. You're not having to do huge mountain ascents and really rough terrain. It's pretty flat, open, um, kind of prairie region, which I think is beautiful in its own right. Um, very different than mountains, obviously. And then I mentioned black bear. It's just another opportunity in the spring. Really great opportunities for black bear. Fairly inexpensive tags in states like Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, and it's just something different. It's something you can do in the spring when there's not really a whole lot else going on unless you're a turkey hunter. But yeah, Chris, why don't you talk to me about some of the states that you can take into consideration, and then we can kind of discuss maybe some of the pros and cons of each state, because um, from my perspective, I know quite a bit about the draw systems for each of those states. Maybe you understand a little bit about like the type of terrain you're looking at, and that kind of stuff. Maybe some of the challenges that each state might hold.
Yeah, I mean, when we are talking about the West and like our thought process, and this isn't excluding other states by like any deductive reasoning, it's just kind of where we've focused on.
Mm-hmm.
You got our most traveled, which is Wyoming so far,
Mm-hmm.
Montana, Nebraska.
Western Nebraska, Eastern Nebraska might still be considered part of the Midwest.
Yeah, once you get
Yeah.
out to the bluffs and different things like that. You got Colorado, which we haven't been to yet on a hunting standpoint. Idaho, we haven't been to. Arizona, we haven't been to. New Mexico, we haven't been to. I will be doing like a South Dakota hunt this year.
Yeah.
Um,
Western South Dakota, Western North Dakota,
mhm.
I would still consider part of the West.
So that's where our minds go. You could slip in maybe Eastern Washington
Mm-hmm.
into that
Eastern Washington, Eastern
spot.
Oregon, maybe too.
And other than that, that's kind of where our focus has for outside of our home turf in Minnesota been. We've talked about doing, like a Georgia, Arkansas, something like that, waterfowl. I imagine the back timber hunts. We've
Yeah.
talked about Texas with Aoudad or
Yeah.
some
Western
of the other
Texas.
other game, like shooting some javelina with a
Mm-hmm.
bow. Sounds really fun.
Yep.
Um, but other than that, that's kind of where our mind goes.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, if you've never even looked at what it would take to do Western hunts, you're going to have two two uh, hills or mountains to tackle. One is going to be the over the counter tags that are accessible, and those are going to be for general areas where you're probably going to have a flood of a lot of people. And then you're going to be also a non-resident with uh, draw scenarios. So you're going to be putting in
Mm-hmm.
points. You're going to be playing a little bit of the lottery or the roulette table, trying to hit that magic draw, so you can get into an area that or I should say that the state deems or quantifies as a more uh, privileged area with where the animals, for whatever reason, are larger or more plentiful, and you have to build those points up within those draws. So, on one hand, you got an easy access over the counters, just like our first hunt in Nebraska, and then two, the other states or even states that do have over the counter tags, but you are still going to have to approach the draw and be successful in the draw to
Mm-hmm.
to even have a date or a for you to get out there and hunt.
Yeah. Um, from I guess I'll tackle kind of from a tag perspective. The most approachable states in general for a beginner are going to be like from actually getting a tag. There are very few over the counter options anymore. Over the counter are pretty much gone. Again, that's come with because of a few things. There's been the rise in popularity with Western hunting. There has been some like the decline of some game species in different states, and some of it is residents are there are some states where residents don't really like the fact that there's so many non-residents hunting their state, so state legislature have changed their draw systems, and that's up to the people of that state. And as a non-resident, do I agree with that? Not necessarily, but that is what they've decided is best for their state, and so we have to play by their rules as non-residents. We'll still give them our money to come hunt their state, but you have to play the game. um, so some over the counter opportunities, I'm just going to kind of put them out there. I mentioned spring black bear. Spring black bear tags are over the counter in Montana, in Idaho, and in Wyoming. I believe there are some in Oregon. I could be wrong there. You might need to fact check me on that. But spring black bear tags are easy to get. They're fairly inexpensive. They're usually right around $350. And maybe to some of you that sounds super expensive, but when it comes to non-resident tags, that is a fairly inexpensive tag. You are not going to be spending what you're used to in your home state of maybe anywhere from like $15 to $50 for a tag. When you are a non-resident, you're going to be shelling out hundreds to get a hunting tag. Um, so
And
in term,
also refer back to states because these things change and legislation changes. So by no
yeah.
means are we substantiating like this is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
In our experience, when I'm listening to you, Peter, I know that that's what it's been in our past. But if you're listening to this, years down the road, that's awesome. Thank you for
Yeah.
for listening to this years down the road. But go back and you got to do your research. Remember, you're
Mm-hmm.
your own expert, and you need to grow in your knowledge and also call people who are experts. So
Yeah.
it's not hard to get on a website and forums and see
Mm-hmm.
what the updates are. Every year, legislation does change depending on the state. There will be some updates. If it stays the same, that's really awesome because it simplifies things. But sometimes they change bag limits. Sometimes they change times when you're able to take the first shot.
Yeah.
First light half hour after sunrise or maybe before.
Sometimes
So
they even change game units or zones
yep,
or regions. Those
yep,
change over the years too. So you really have to keep an eye on those things.
yep.
Um, but yeah, so like some of your easiest opportunities as a first time Western hunter, say you don't have any points built up anywhere. Here are pretty much your best options. I mentioned spring black bear. There's a great opportunity right there. Harder hunt, but it's an opportunity to get out west. Um, in the state of Colorado, if you want to hunt elk, if that's what you're really interested in, Colorado has one of the lowest barriers to entry for elk hunting. It used to be that there were a bunch of units that were over the counter for archery and over the counter for second rifle. Colorado has multiple rifle seasons. Different rifle seasons would have different draws, but second rifle in general in a lot of these units was over the counter general hunt. Well, just this past year, Colorado decided to get rid of all archery over the counter tags. They are now all draw units. You can still get some of these units with 0 points. You don't have to have any points to draw some of these units, but you do still need to apply. Unfortunately, that application period has already happened for Colorado. So if you were interested in bow hunting Colorado this year, you're not going to be able to do it. But you can plan on that for next year. You could also get a point. Actually, nope, you can't get a point. That period's done too. Uh, but you could look into that for next year. However, there are still over-the-counter units available for second rifle season. So if you want to go out and hunt with a rifle, you can still go out there. You can literally show up in Colorado the day before season. You go to a Walmart or sporting goods store, whatever, buy a tag, and you're ready to go. I don't remember exactly how much a rifle tag or how much an elk tag in Colorado is. I want to say it's around $700 to $800. So that's an opportunity. Well, that's for an opportunity. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be really nice elk, really nice bulls, but Colorado does have a ton of elk. They have the most elk out of any state in the West. So that's a great option. From there, there are not a lot of, if I'm being honest, there's not a lot of over the counter rifle options across the West. There are more opportunities if you're willing to hunt with a bow. I believe Nebraska is their archery tags, if I'm correct. If you want to hunt mule deer or whitetails, I guess. I believe the archery tag is still over the counter. I can't remember how much it was. I think it was like 350
$375.
bucks.
It was
375?
375.
375 for a tag, and that tag is good for either mule deer or whitetail deer. But I can't remember if it's unit specific. It's not unit specific. I think as long as you hold the tag, you can hunt any of the mule deer units.
Yeah, Nebraska still offers over-the-counter deer tags.
Yeah, so that's what we did our first year, and I'm gonna be honest, it's
First come,
it's an
first serve basis.
yep, it's an opportunity hunt. It's not a trophy hunt. The quality of the mule deer or of the deer there are not going to be super high, but it's an opportunity to hunt mule deer if that's what you're after. The first time you shoot a mule deer, it doesn't have to be a giant buck. You just got to get out there and experience it. So there's an option right there. The other historic option has been South Dakota for mule deer with a bow. They have changed that a little bit as well. I don't believe it's over the counter anymore, but I think it's a pretty late draw, and you can essentially get a archery tag for mule deer in South Dakota. I don't think you need any points. I think they have started building preference points for that state, but I don't think you need any points in order to draw that tag. Same thing for archery antelope in South Dakota. If you want to get after some speed goats or some pronghorn, you can do that in South Dakota with your bow. However, that is one of the hardest hunts in the West, is to kill an antelope with your bow. Spot and stock, at least. And again, I don't even remember 100% all the dates for these hunts off the top of my head. This is where you're going to have to go and do your own research. I'm just trying to share with you some of those opportunities you can look into. As far as I'm aware, those are the primary, easiest to draw hunts in the West. If you were wanting to go out this fall, you could probably still do it. There are states that are on point systems, but require minimal points in order to draw. And in some states, there's also the complete random chance draw. It all depends on the draw system. Some states you have to build points. Some states you can enter the lottery, and it's a pure lottery, meaning everyone has the same chance, whether it's your first year applying or your 20th year applying. There are no points. It's just you put your name in the hat and you hope your name gets drawn. New Mexico is one of those states. New Mexico has excellent quality of animals, but again, it's pure lottery. So if you do draw, it's all luck. I think that draw has already happened as well. Like I said,
that's what makes some of these difficult and requires more planning, because if you have to kind of block out those times, and also like my place of what I do for work right now is a little more flexible than probably what you have, Pete, because I am 100% mobile. So I'm working like off my computer. So I could very well go out on a hunt and work at a coffee shop from 6 a.m. to 3, and then go hunt the evening if I like
Sure.
super needed to, right? But you are you're physically kind of tied down, so that's where the planning comes in, to figure out, hey, if I do draw this random lottery, I need to be ready to like pivot kind of and move my schedule around in order to facilitate that.
Submit my PTO, make sure I have all that blocked off for work and everything. So, yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of opportunities in the West. It's really tough to convey all of that in a single podcast, just because obviously there's a lot of states, There's different species. There's a lot of different zones and regions, and different states have different draw. You need a certain amount of points for a different region in each state. It just all depends on kind of what that region is known for, whether it's an opportunity region where there's just animals and it's easy to draw, or if it's like a trophy unit, in which case you're going to need a lot of points. So, rather than getting too deep into this, I think I want to mention a really helpful resource that I think is worth its weight in gold if you want to understand all these draw systems, and just a good way to get started. Maybe identify not only what state and animal you want to hunt, but even what region in that state or what zone in that state you want to hunt. What's actually something attainable, and that's using a service like Go Hunt or Hunt and Fool. Personally, we use Go Hunt, and what Go Hunt is, and we're not sponsored by them at all. I'm literally just talking about a tool that I love to use that has been, paramount in our success in drawing tags and doing a lot of research. Go Hunt is a tool. It is a paid subscription, but it's a tool that they essentially do all the calculations for you. You can learn about the different draw systems in each state. You can look at units on a map. They can tell you what your odds are to draw the tag you're looking at for the state you're looking at, for the unit you're looking at, based on how many points you do or do not have. It's just an excellent resource to learn and kind of figure out what might be your next steps for your hunt. Now, if it were me, I would just say if you're wanting to go out west, maybe you have a very specific species you want to hunt, and you're looking for a very specific experience. If you're wanting to do this DIY, so yourself, and not hire an outfitter, not hire a guide, any of that, if you're wanting to do this as cheap as possible, you want to do it yourself, either just go out there and get experience. It doesn't have to be a good unit or whatever. Just go out there, get experience, or you wait a couple more years, you buy the points that you need to get the tag you want, and then you go. But I would lean more towards don't focus so much on the species, just get out there and experience spot and stock Western hunting. To me, that's more important. Chris, what's kind of your perspective on that? I mean, like we've mentioned, we've hunted Nebraska, we've hunted Wyoming, we've hunted Montana. I've done some turkey hunting in South Dakota, which is like different, but it's still Western hunting. So kind of what's your perspective on that? What's your opinion on, just kind of getting started, even with maybe draw odds stacked against you?
I mean, it's no different than anything else in life. I'm not a welder, but that's the first thing that came to mind. If you're doing a certain type of weld and you get really good at it, the first time you did it, you sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or maybe you had some proficiency because you watched some videos or watched somebody do that weld a couple times in front of you, and then just mechanically, like your brain coordination, it all works. But there's room for growth, right? It's the same with like playing a different position on the football field early on, or different, focusing on a different skill in basketball. You might be a great defender from the get go just because you have longer arms and you can jump, and you're very gifted to react to people's moves, but your shot may suck.
Right.
And those are different aspects of hunting too. Like you have to get on the floor, you have to experience shooting some shots in a real game, you have to experience defending those shots, you have to experience welding a different type of item. uh you, that's the only way you grow. So getting out to Nebraska, like our first time, was you had kind of picked a spot. You're like, you think this is a great spot for us to get in, and there's some topography and we can camp here. And so we did that. I remember going in, and we had known that you had done enough research to know that the road that we were going in was, if it rained, it was like all clay. So we weren't getting out. And were we pulling a trailer?
No.
We were just driving my truck. Yeah. And then we got back there and going up the hill, and there were just deep tire grooves to the
Yep.
point where the bottom of the truck practically could have easily bottomed out if you didn't drive kind of off it. But if it had rained, you'd slide right into those grooves
Yep.
easy and be stuck. So when we got in there, and this is my point, we got on the floor, right? We said, hey, lace up the sneakers or the boots for this situation. We grabbed our bows. We went light because we were just packing and going really no more than, I don't know, maybe 5 miles a day. It
Yeah.
wasn't too. I think we ended up going maybe a touch more here and there,
Hmm.
but we got out there and we weren't successful. We started to see a little bit. We tried to hit, we had never been to glassing points. That was like a new term, a new experience, all that. We had more basic binoculars and I don't remember if we had a spotting scope. I can't remember. We probably didn't.
I don't
We
think
probably
we
didn't.
did. No.
But I remember I watched a little spike buck go. We watched that massive whitetail and the guys on the other side of the hill and that whole
Hmm.
story that we've talked about a couple of times. But we snuck around. We tried to position ourselves in places of opportunity, which we did. We came up upon some mule deer and whitetail multiple times, just couldn't bring it all together. And we're not talking like, oh, we were 100 yards out. We're talking 15 yards,
Yep.
20 yards
Close, like
a couple
shooting
times.
distance. Yeah.
Yep. But for those of you that bow hunt, and we're not in a stand, right? We're on the ground. So there's so many things going on. A slight flinch or a move, or even like a butterfly flying might make the deer look straight at you, which
Hmm.
things happen, and that's what kind of happened. But getting a day under your belt. Okay, we were out there. Okay, we didn't. We could do this a little differently tomorrow. We could do this differently in the morning, this differently in the evening. Okay, what if we check out this area, which is, just over the ridge? Or we started to learn and flex muscles that we've never flexed before because we were in a place of learning. It wasn't a place like I go back to our home turf in Minnesota. There's minimal things that we have to learn,
Yeah,
truly,
there's very little thought that kind of goes
because
into it.
we know spots, we know travel patterns, and it doesn't really change at all because the topography doesn't change. The food sources
Hmm.
where they're at, the water, our stand placements. We've moved those around a little bit, but that's just to maximize some of the movement in the woods or on the field edge. But when you're out of that element and every single day is like a full new experience. It's super fun because you have no idea what's going to happen. But that first Nebraska, and we had a massive thunderstorm come in, and we had to pack up, and we dipped out of there, and it hailed on my truck, and the insurance company wouldn't give me anything for it, and they're like, "No, this isn't damage," and I'm like, "What are you talking about? There's hail marks all over." I had a buddy with me. The hail was huge. We were driving in it. Um, but we stayed at a hotel, which wasn't originally our plan.
No.
Now we've kind of like I think learned that a hotel stay will be inevitable on our trips because we do try to push our limits. We do get into storms. We're out in the mud, like and coming in halfway to the hunt, or for sure on the way back, a hot shower and a good meal
Goes a long way.
goes a long way, especially even in the middle of a hunt too. So
Hmm.
those are things we start to learn, and like Wyoming's different, Montana's different. Uh, we are better Wyoming hunters so far than Montana, but that's probably because the Montana areas we've been in don't suit us well at all. There are Montana areas that will suit our hunting styles way way better. And when our hunting style lines up with opportunity, we tend to be very efficient and
Hmm.
come out, successful. So that is only developed because we just got out there that first time. And when we came back from Nebraska, we missed being successful. Like we're talking 30 seconds multiple
Hmm.
times, right? Uh, there were probably 3 or 4 opportunities where we were inside 15 to 20 yards. And it just, the movement, travel patterns, whatever's going on, we couldn't bring it together. But we came back from that trip. I was ticked off. And I think that only further drove home me wanting to go back because I had talked about it multiple times. Just go back for rifle season. Like that big buck is there, and it's not just like big guys. This guy was a monster, and Peter can attest to that.
It
But
was
is that
huge.
is that the same kind of like first experience you had for how it like propelled you into like what did that do for hunts after the fact or looking forward?
Yeah, that hunt really wanted me to get better, and like really get an understanding of these places. Um, because the next year we went to Wyoming and hunted antelope, which completely different animal, completely different state, completely different topography. Like couldn't have been a more different hunt, but we were still able to, I feel, apply some of the things that we learned on that first hunt, apply it to this context, even though, like I said, even though it's a little different, and we found success because we
Mhm.
took some of those things that we had learned from failure and were able to turn those into a success. And I think, man, that first failure that just lit, like you said, it lit a fire in me to want to like go back and do it again and do it better. But man, that first success, that like sweet first taste of success was like, I'm like, man, I want to do this the rest of my life.
I
Like
gotta
it was
say,
so fun.
our how many hunts do we have? Nebraska, Wyoming twice,
Wyoming twice,
Montana,
Montana twice.
Montana twice.
Yeah, elk and bear.
Oh yeah. If we had not been successful at all through these hunts, what experience do you think or opinion would you hold right now from from a dollar standpoint alone of what's been
Ooh,
invested for tags? I'd be like I'm done for a while, bro.
yeah, I think it would
Which is
really.
many people's experience, is it
Mm-hmm.
not?
No, it would be hard to keep the spirits up. That's for sure. It'd also be really hard on the home front, explaining to the wife, I'm going to go out and do this hunt again and bring nothing home again. It's been hard enough being skunked last fall and this spring
Mm-hmm.
from that perspective. Even for myself, it's like, man, it really sucks being gone for a whole week hunting and coming home with nothing. It's tough on the family and it's tough mentally on yourself. You feel like you're a failure. Like, man, I thought I was a pretty good hunter. Am I even good at this? Like, I have a podcast about hunting and I didn't even fill a
Well, I
tag.
think
But
the first hunt we both only had a single tag, right? A
mhm,
deer tag, and we should have bought a small game license to hunt doves because there were more doves than you could possibly imagine where we went. But that is also a different experience having a single tag versus having multiple tags in your
mhm,
pocket. Because if you came home with multiple tags, like our elk hunt, we had five guys, so we had five tags and came back with nothing.
mhm.
Those types of experiences, or even bear, like we had three bear tags, came home with nothing.
Yeah.
That because I'm a team, like I love the team winning. I want the team to win. So, our mule deer hunt, everybody was able to bring something home. And one, I had my dad go with me, and there was an opportunity that presented itself. And of course, it goes through my mind, oh, I could pull my rifle out and hit this. But to like be with my dad, who is out west, and he's one of the guys now for sure.
Mhm,
Um, to see and share that moment and experience, and I have a video of when he, shot it, and he's tearing up. It's something so special between a father and son.
mhm.
Having multiple tags and coming back with nothing, especially if we had done that up to this point, the amount of dollars, like I had mentioned, man, I don't. We've been blessed because we've been coming home like 75% success rate.
Yeah,
Because
we
it's not just
had.
you and me. You and I have only hunted together one time out west, which is our first hunt. Every other time, people have gone with because I think that's what we enjoy the most
Mhm.
is
Bringing
experiencing
others
it with
along.
friends. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, it's true. We've only done that one hunt, just the two of us, which I'm sure there'll be more hunts where it's just the two of us in the future. Um, I mean, it just kind of has to happen that way, right? Not everyone's going to be available every time we want to go. Um, but that's always the goal is to have more guys.
We
But
have the four guys that are pretty in our like our in our back pocket for our group.
mhm,
One of those guys always seems to be for sure gonna make the hunt happen. And when all the guys make the hunt happen, it gets real fun because we're just all bros, and
Yeah. It gets fun, but it's also in the back of my mind. I'm like, this
it's
is
too
super
much.
fun. I love having these guys, but it's almost too much because like now we have all these tags to fill, and I'm just not certain it.
Well, we
Like
start to get
someone's gonna go home without a tag
we
being
start to get
filled.
preoccupied also with just we're enjoying the time together. So there's that pull of like not hunting as hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
hmm Yeah. The more social a hunt gets, the easier it is to get distracted and not necessarily focus on the purpose for being there. That's for sure.
True.
Um, but okay, well, let's jump into. I mean, I feel like we've talked a little bit about a decent amount about different states, what you can hunt, different tag systems and stuff like that. Seriously, just go and get a Go Hunt Insider membership. It's $100 a year. I know that sounds like a lot, but in the grand scheme of Western hunting, it's worth every penny. Like literally worth every penny. They will give you reminders of when different tag applications when the deadlines are, so you won't miss it. There's just so much gold in that service, and I would just highly recommend it. Um, so go find an opportunity hunt. Just go find a hunt that's going to be easy tag to draw. Pay attention though to the information or like the details of that tag. Make sure it's not like a private land only tag, and then you show up and you realize that you can't use that tag unless you're on private land. If you can line up access to private land, that's great. Usually out west, you're going to have to pay a trespass fee, which means you're going to have to pay a landowner to let you hunt on their land, and those are pretty hard to come by because a lot of the guides and outfitters kind of gobble those up. But that's also another opportunity. If you want to go out west and have a good hunt, you can hire a guide and you can hunt in the units that don't require many or if any points because you have access to private land.
And if you truly like don't know where to start, comment or send us an email at readysethuntpod@gmail.com. We're
Mm-hmm.
happy to respond and like chat with you
Yeah,
about what you're doing or thinking.
yeah.
Um,
You can reach out to us on socials too, like
yep.
DM the Instagram, our Instagram, or you send a message to our TikTok. Like we're responsive, and we're always happy to give info or advice. We won't maybe share exact spots with you, but we can maybe point you in the right direction, or even just give you our opinion if you're thinking I'm thinking about going to this unit, whatever. I mean, we'll take a look at it and give you our honest opinion. But
Yeah,
we
and
want to.
we're also not guys that like nothing on our website is not us, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. All the photos, everything on there is our hunts, our photos. So I would just say, oh, I gotta say, there is some background stuff like elk out there in one of them. That's totally
Stock
I
photo or
searched
something.
for that because I wanted like that's the elk I dream of shooting. So disclaimer.
There's one picture on there. It's
there's one
not.
picture of backdrop because I was like, wait a minute, am I saying things that is this true?
Yeah,
But it is. Everything else really is all of us. So uh, yeah, go check it out.
yeah. All right, so let's jump into like actual prep. Maybe we could do a really quick overview of this, like fitness and training. In my mind, Chris, I mean, you can agree or disagree with me. Really, in terms of fitness and preparation for a Western hunt, prepare the way that you are going to hunt. Like think about the hunt you're going to be doing. So if you're going to be in the mountains, do things that are going to help you in the mountains. Get your cardio up, do stair steppers, do things on incline if you can, like on a treadmill or something. Wear a heavy backpack, do rucking, and if you're really into lifting weights, do a lot of isometric movements. So when I say that, I mean like don't just do like barbell squats or deadlifts, do like lunges or single leg squats because when you're climbing mountains, you're not using both your legs at the same time. You're using one at a time. So you want to train your body that way. Get each leg individually strong, not just strong together. Um, Another resource. This is a shameless plug, not sponsored by them, no connection to them aside that I'm a paying member. Mountain Tough Fitness Lab, Mountain Tough. It's a online community slash service. They do daily videos. They have all sorts of different fitness programs that you can do, follow along with a video, or in the gym if you like more of like a template that you just kind of do on your own, follow along. But it's literally geared towards mountain athletes and like backcountry hunters. And so if you want to get in shape for the mountains, they have a ton of different programs. Check that out. It's awesome. They usually have some promo going on where you can get 6 weeks free. Try it out, see if you like it. I think it's worth it. It's annually, it's going to be way cheaper than a gym membership, and you need some just minimal gear for at home. But anyway, fitness, Chris, I mean, what are you doing? I know we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but
I mean, fitness for me just is a time impactor.
mm-hmm.
Like from a hunting or from hiking a mountain, if you're more in shape or more fit, you've put in some work, you're going to have an easier time getting up there efficiently than not.
Yeah.
So you can 100%, if you're like mediocrely active, go out and do a mountain hunt. It just might, as long as your feet are good and you're not
Mm-hmm.
blistering out, you should be able to effectively move around the mountain, access some trails. But if you get into, Alaska, or you're doing like bighorn sheep or billy goats or something like that, where you're way up there,
Mm-hmm.
you might have a little bit harder time from an oxygen density standpoint. But you want to be ready. You want to be stretched out. You want your muscles to be warmed up. So, walking and doing push-ups and getting your heart rate up is only a benefit and is only going to aid you.
Yeah. And I do want to mention one more thing. We'll probably talk about it, but about a little bit in gear. When it comes to like Western hunting, and I'm going to talk specifically like backcountry hunting, if you want to hunt in the mountains, everyone's always talking about packing, lightweight items and trying to cut as much pack weight as you can, which I agree with. I think is very important. But I'm talking to you big boys out here. It's one thing to cut 5 pounds from your pack, and I think that's good, but it might be more efficient and actually better if you have 5 pounds you can cut from your body weight. And this is not like a fat shaming or anything like that, but I think it's funny that there are some people that are so obsessed with trying to cut ounces and like 2 pounds from their pack, but they weigh like 300 pounds. And
Well, they
want to
also
go
don't
into
focus on how strong they need to be to keep that pack on their back, for
right.
5 miles, 6
But
miles.
my point is like, why are you focusing on cutting 2 pounds from your pack when you could just cut like 2, 10, 15 pounds from your overall body weight, and it's having the same effect?
Yeah, you're saying get stronger.
Get stronger and just carry less body weight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't make sense to carry around all that extra body weight when you're focusing on trying to cut ounces from the gear that you carry in your pack. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not like the most in shape person in the world either. I carry extra body weight just like everyone. I'm just saying,
not like me.
From unlike Chris, he does not carry extra body weight.
I don't carry any extra body weight.
He carries negative body weight, actually.
If you could give me some body weight, I'll take it.
Anyway, let's see. Okay, in terms of training for like maybe prep with your tool that you're going to be using. When I say tool, I mean like your rifle, your bow, your muzzle loader, or whatever. Chris, what are some things we can do just to kind of prepare for hunting out west, especially if your experience is hunting Midwest? Maybe you are used to hunting timber stands, you're used to hunting, farmland. What kind of prep should we be doing with our tools when it comes to
please, for the love of all things
context
that are meaningful, go shoot your rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Go shoot your bow. Please don't get out and be. I say this actually just to you, the person, because it's not fun when you miss, and it's not.
It's the
fun.
Worst.
It's really fun. It's like it's unbelievably fun when you know where your rifle is shooting, where like when you let that arrow go, where that arrow is going to end up. and it hits the target and you don't have to track something that you've wounded, because that becomes like the worst feeling in the world. You especially, it just like in the pit of your stomach, it just, your heart just drops, you feel sick, you're like, at least if you have any conscience, I should say. There are some people I've please don't get out there and like blast the side of a hill at just like whatever you can see. That's not what we're talking about here. But in the context of being a proficient conservationist, you might have had a very accurate rifle last year, but it's been sitting in your safe, or you've stored your bow in your case. Things change, guys. A little knock on the glass might have, you might have lost a screw in your scope, and right as you're putting it away or something, or coming back from when you shot it from that last deer, or maybe your strings have dried out a little bit on your bow. Um,
Mm-hmm.
get out, shoot a couple times, make sure you're comfortable with the recoil, make sure you can hold that draw on your bow for an extended amount of time, because you might have to do that in the field. And the worst thing is people, when you hold, especially on your bow, and then you might be able to hold for a while, but they'll let down. Like you might need to let it down in between the animal moving around some brush or trees or something, and you just like can't let it down with
Right.
any
Yeah.
grace. Um, or you get antsy because the moment that you do get the shot after holding for like a minute and a half, you're kind of like to the point of exhaustion. You're just trying to get the shot off like quickly
Mm-hmm.
versus like remembering, take a deep breath. Where's my pin? So I think from that standpoint, that's maybe the most important thing. And then you got to break your feet in, regardless of what hunt you're doing. You just
Mm-hmm.
got to have a good foot setup. So like a tool that way, I'm thinking boots, or whatever your shoes are.
Yeah. I mean, you want to just transition to gear here?
Well, I'm just thinking the most important things. Like if you don't have that, like you can wear any type of camo, outside of like some spotted orange or something like that while you're doing an archery hunt for elk, or maybe that'll work. I don't know. You wear it and tell me later. But it's the things that take you out of the game is what we're really talking about. That's what
Yeah.
you have to think about. So
Yeah. I mean, in terms of, well, quick before we move on to gear, my biggest thing is like if you're hunting out west, inherently your shots are going to be longer distance than maybe what you're used to in the
that's true.
Midwest or out east. So how do you prepare for that? You need to practice shooting at those ranges. Whether you're hunting with a rifle, where your most shots are probably going to be 200 and out. Very rarely does a shot happen under that distance. They do happen. Chris, you shot an antelope at like 70 yards with your rifle. I shot my antelope at like right around 150. Um,
And then I
that
shot that same trip. I shot the second one at 310.
Yep. And then the next year on mule deer, I shot mine at 280. We had our buddy who shot at just a hair over 300. Then your dad shot. I don't remember how far that one was. That was
100 some.
so maybe so. I mean, it does happen, but in general, you can't bank on all your shots being under 200 yards. You need to be prepared to take a longer distance shot. I would say, you can set your limit for yourself based off of maybe where you're proficient and what you feel comfortable with. Maybe for you your max range is 300 yards. You're like, I'm not going to shoot further than that. I just don't trust in my ability to shoot further than that. But maybe you feel pretty good. Maybe you're good at judging the wind and all this kind of stuff, and maybe your outer limit is 500 yards. You have to find that for yourself, but you're not going to find that unless you take the time to practice shooting at those distances, and not just prone, but in different positions too.
Mm-hmm.
um, so maybe you're like, okay, in prone I can hit 500 consistently, but then you go into a kneeling position, you try that and you're not proficient or you're not consistent. So you're like, okay, I can shoot 500, but only if I'm in a prone shooting position. Those are the things you need to figure out. And then for archery, I mean, I'm not as experienced of an archer as I am a rifleman at this point. I would say that well, I don't know. I actually don't know if that's a true statement, but have I shot my bow or have I shot my rifle more? I've actually probably shot my bow more. Um, but like
From
out
the
west,
standpoint of hunts, we've taken our rifles on more hunts.
yes, but in terms of actual time behind a rifle versus my bow, I've definitely shot my bow more. It's just more accessible. It's easier to do. Um, but like with archery, your shots are not going to be your typical tree stand shots that are 20 to 30 yards. You might be looking at a shot that is 30, 40, 50 plus yards. And so you just need to practice that and be ready for that. And then if you find you're not proficient at some of those extended ranges, then you limit yourself into saying, I'm only going to take a shot if it's X amount of yards and in. So practice that. Find those limits for yourself and then stick to those and then try and make them better. I think that's a very important part. Don't just go out there and think, my rifle's pretty accurate. I bet you I can make this shot. You owe it to the animal to like be more precise than that and be more practiced than that. But Chris, let's jump to gear. I want to highlight what are some things that you might already have in your closet or in your gear closet or bin or whatever. What are some things you might already have if you're, say, a Midwest whitetail hunter, Eastern whitetail hunter, so you don't need to go out and buy something new necessarily to do a Western hunt? And it's going to be very hunt specific and dependent, obviously, but just in general.
Well, probably your base layers will translate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, long johns or different things like that. You might be in warmer climates, like we've done warmer hunts where it's still warm out, but it gets cool in the evenings. You're not going to be able to bring your tree stand like overalls. That's not going to be a thing that's going
Yeah.
to work for you, um, unless you have some sort of out of the truck type setup.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody can kind of guide you around the land, and you are walking 50 yards, laying down, something like that,
Yeah.
and taking the shot. I don't know. I don't know what else. Like you
I
gotta
mean,
have something that suits whatever hunt you're gonna do. So like you just got to know what climate you're getting into, and you
mm-hmm.
might already have some lighter weight items. You might have some more winterized, like a bigger jacket that would work for a late season hunt. But I don't think like the clunky deer stand boots work at
No,
all in any
definitely not.
scenario. Anything that's heavy and bulky is probably not going to work. Our winter stuff or our warmer stuff is much more compact because that's how it's been built
Yeah.
by the companies that we purchase from. So gloves are a big
Yeah.
one though.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you could probably one thing that would transfer is your hand warmers or your pouch.
Oh, sure.
That thing could totally work in any scenario,
that,
especially if
that
you're
could. Yeah.
late season. It's just something to put your hands into. But gloves
Mm-hmm.
are a big one. You're not going to go far without secondly having your hands be warm because you got to
Yeah.
take the shot and you got to take care of your hands.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where you were going, or what do you think?
Yeah, kind of. I think what are some of the biggest differences? Like, obviously, with Western hunting, it is much more optics heavy type of hunting as opposed to in a tree stand. Like, you might carry a small pair of binos in the tree stand with you when you're hunting. But you don't have to.
Mm.
Whereas hunting out west, it is almost a prerequisite that you at least have a good pair of binoculars or a decent pair of binoculars, just because the spaces you're hunting in and operating in are so much bigger, more wide open. Like, you need glass to cover it because otherwise you're trying to cover it with your legs, and that is a sure way to burn yourself out in the first couple of days. So you want to let your eyes do the walking instead of your legs. I mean, there are a lot of nice to haves. There are some must haves. There are a lot of nice to haves. In terms of must haves, I would say you're gonna need a multi-day capable backpack. Um, I mean, you don't necessarily need a hunting specific
Well,
frame pack,
set the
but
table with proper context because
yeah,
are you talking backpack hunting? Are you talking about you're staying in a hotel and just driving around in your truck? Like guys do that.
I suppose, yeah.
and walk trails. So like you might have a lighter weight camo backpack from Fleet that you throw stuff in. Like that would work. That will work. It's not a bad option. Like it's not wrong to do. But if you are doing anything at all with longer distances, there are options out there that are much more suited
Hmm.
to your water setup. How module is it? Can you put pockets or pouches on different things? And especially from it really stems from how are you going to pack out meat
Yeah.
when you are successful? That's what it comes down to, because
Yeah.
you can't. I would say you probably can't do that with like a lightweight backpack from Fleet Farm. You could do meat bags and throw it in there, and I guess I mean I really guess you could do that,
You in a pinch, you could make it work. You
but
could, but this isn't Midwest whitetail hunting where you're able to drive your truck
yeah.
to the spot where you shot your animal necessarily.
Yeah, you can't
Um,
throw it in the back of your truck. Like you're probably like on public land, you're probably packing out 99% of the time, and maybe higher than that, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah. And again, it's going to depend on the type of land you're on. Maybe you're in an area where you're able to use a four wheeler. Maybe that's so it could be a different story. But in the majority of cases, if you're hunting animals off of a like a two track or like a publicly accessible road, you're going to still have to get that animal back to your vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be 100 yards or it could be 3 miles, and so when we talk about the
Because
backpack,
you might set up 100 yards from your vehicle and then
mhm,
spot something, and then you're creeping, and then you're creeping, and before you know it, you're 2 miles in, and you do have the best shot opportunity you've ever had, and
mhm,
you knock it down. But going back to that, you now realize you went up and down a couple of ridges, and that one that you climbed was way steeper than you intended to. So now you're not set up with your boots. You're maybe wearing the wrong gear. You now have the wrong backpack set up. Maybe you left stuff in the truck. There are a lot of things that all of a sudden become not advantageous to making your life easy. It gets
yep,
very hard very quick, and
uh,
going even back and forth if you have like not a larger pack that can store that meat for
yeah,
the distance to pack out, you're taking little loads, so you've actually created a scenario where you're just infinitely more working from a difficulty standpoint than if
mhm,
you would have just invested. I mean, there's a lot of options out there, Mystery Ranch, or some of these packs that do have meat shelves that you can get on sale, a couple
yep,
$100. Work great, will last a lifetime. Like you're not beating the crap out of them on a punching bag or anything like that. So
right. And there are options if you want to try some of this higher end hunting gear that are like purpose built for everything we're talking about. There are options to rent those things too. You don't necessarily have to buy them. And if this is your first time Western hunting and you're not even sure that this is going to be for you, but you just want to try it out, renting that gear might not be a bad option because it gives you the opportunity to save money by not having to invest a ton into it, and then you have the stuff you need to do the hunt you're wanting to do, and then you'll figure out whether you want to do it. And then if you love it, then you go out and you get something of your own. If you don't like it, all it cost you was the amount of money it cost you to rent the gear, and you're out nothing else. It's not like you have this multi-$100 bag that you now have to sell, or it just collects dust in your closet. Renting gear is a really awesome option. There's a website called rentoutdoorgear.com if you want to check that out. Again, we are not affiliated, but it's a nice website that will give you options to rent some of that high end gear to outfit your hunts. If you're just kind of getting into it, which is the point of this whole thing. I mean, we've had a previous podcast episode. I have to remember which episode that was. Here, let me look that up quick. Where we talk about gear and the essentials that you need. Let's see. It is episode 9, Gear Up, our essential gear and how it's evolved. So if you want to learn more about gear, because I mean we could talk about this stuff for hours, right? But go back to that episode 9, so you can hear more about the gear that you really need. And I think we kind of talk about that pretty deeply from a Western perspective, and maybe the different types of hunts you might do and what different kind of gear that might require. But in general, there's the big three: backpack, boots, and optics for Western hunting. Those are the big three, the ones that you're going to want to invest the most of your money into, because those are the ones that are going to make or break your hunt. All
Yeah.
the other
Then in
stuff,
addition to that, you're gonna want to stay hydrated. So
yeah,
you gotta think about from calories and hydration standpoint. Like you're going into the wilderness. But then we're not. Would you include like navigation or GPS Onyx maps as something that's needed? Probably not if you know where trailheads are, but
yeah.
probably yes if you want to know where like boundaries are. Like
I
if you're
would
in a wilderness area and it's massive, you're going to be all right. You're probably not going to like you can hunt it,
true.
right?
You could hunt it.
But there's so many advantages, especially from a tracking standpoint. Like shooting your animal, you can start the tracker on it, and now you can actually follow the blood trail, and it's tracking the
Hmm.
trajectory on your map on your phone, so that if you get disoriented or lose the blood trail, you can literally look back at your maps and go, okay, what direction are we going here? Well, the animal is going this way. Like there's only a couple options. It's probably not going to go back the other way, although that has happened. But yeah,
Yeah.
from an
To me, I
elevation,
feel
all
like
that stuff.
with Western hunting, especially if you're coming from a completely different context like the Midwest or East, you need one of those digital mapping software, whether it's Onyx, Go Hunt, whatever is your app of choice. I
When
think
you say
I
need,
think you would
there's
be
just
I
so many
think you'd be
advantages, is what you're talking about.
yeah, I think it'd be kind of foolish not to go get it, and especially since like you can almost always find some sort of free trial or some offer. Um, it's fairly it can be fairly inexpensive. I mean, there's different plan packages where you can literally just download one state and it's super cheap. Or if you want to go through like an Onyx Elite membership, you get the whole country. I mean, that you can go that route, but there are ways to keep it cheap if you're being budget minded. But I do think that it is having a mapping platform is very, very important. You could go the paper maps route, but you are putting yourself way behind the curve of what everyone else is doing in the industry
It might be
and,
fun
and in
doing a
hunting.
hunt with just paper maps,
It could be. It'd be kind of
doing
yeah,
a throwback
kind of a
nostalgic.
throwback hunt.
It's kind of like the Greatest Race or something like that. Some
Hmm.
TV show, right? The
Um,
Amazing Race. That's what I was going for.
the Amazing Race. Um, for first time hunter, I think e-scouting is really important, at least just to get bearings on the area you're hunting. You can do all the scouting you want, but until you get there, it, you can have an idea of what a place looks like, but when you get there, it might look completely different. We've talked about that a ton. But use those resources, Onyx, Go Hunt, use those resources to understand the area you're looking at, you know, learn about where the species you're hunting is most likely to be, why it's going to be there. Look for water sources, bedding areas. Where are some places you could sit in glass, find glassing points. There's all this stuff. I mean, I just feel like we're running out of time. We could record a 3-hour podcast on this, but in general, guys, I mean, the message and takeaway here is that you just got to go out and do it. Um,
I mean, we're coming from the context of a do-it-yourself, and I'm assuming most people who are listening to this is probably a do-it-yourself. They're entertaining that space.
right.
Um, if you have the means, a guy like hiring a guide is a great option.
Hmm.
Is a great option. That's not going to mean you're going to be successful, but it'll probably improve your odds dramatically
Yeah.
if you are first time, second time early
Yeah.
hunting. I mean, it would improve our odds in 100 different scenarios,
Hmm.
especially from land access, private land. That guide is they're guiding because they know the area.
They might even know individual animals. Like they
Yep.
they they don't just know the area; they know the animals that live there and where to find them.
Yep.
That's literally their job. Um,
So, yeah, I mean, I guess with and then yeah, logistics from like how are you getting there? Because if you are traveling across state lines, are you driving? Are you flying? There's going to be some different. Eventually, you're going to have to drive, right? You're going to have to rent a vehicle or something.
Yep.
But just know your regulations. Start planning. Get a buddy and start planning.
Yep.
And
You
then
can. I was gonna say you can do it alone. Like if you're like I'm just gonna go solo. Like I don't know one else who wants to do this. I just encourage you to find someone to go with you, even if they're not a hunter. Maybe they just like camping or backpacking or something. Just have someone go with you. It's so much better, especially your first time out. Like it's just so much better to have someone to do it with. You know, share in those experiences, share in maybe the suck, and then also share in those moments where you're celebrating, you know, success or whatever that might look like to you. It's just so much more fun having someone with you. But yeah, you don't need to be a pro, guys. Just plan, train, and go. Just do it.
just do it.
Just
I
do
mean,
it.
I didn't even know that was going to be the theme of this episode, but I'm wearing my Nike hat.
Maybe I should. I titled this "Chasing the West," but maybe I should just. I should rename
Just
it.
do it. No,
Just do it.
semicolon. Just do it.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Well, guys. Again, we mentioned this before, but if you have any questions at all, reach out to us. We're happy to give you any input that we have. We're not experts by any means, but we've been out west several times on different types of hunts. I personally understand the draw systems pretty well in most of the western states. So if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to me. And if I don't know the answer, I will certainly go and try and find it for you or point you in the right direction to some resources that can help you. But the West is such a fun place. It's such a cool place. The experiences are so different, and they're unlike anything that you can get, you know, in the Midwest or in the East, or maybe you can get a similar experience, but it's just different, man. And the West has my heart. Like there's nowhere like it. It's just so unique. And I think if you are wanting to go out there and experience that, it would be well worth your time and money. So with that, Chris, do you have any parting thoughts?
Make sure you find a pump up song to pump yourself up, because we have one, and yeah, it helps us.
Mm-hmm.
It's Top Gun.
The Top Gun theme song. Oh,
we just cranked that when we did, that was Nebraska.
like when we're rolling up to the trailhead.
That was what we did. That was our song that we turned on, that we found. I mean, we knew of it, but for Nebraska, it was our first hunt, and it's become a staple in all of our hunts.
It's true. It's very true. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Again, subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, leave a written review, 5-star review, wherever you're listening. Follow us on socials, TikTok, Instagram. We're honored that you spend your time with us each week for whatever it is, whether it's 45 minutes or whether it's an hour and 45 minutes. We love doing this, and we love going on this journey with you. So again, reach out if you have any questions, and until next time, just do it.